Up, Toby? This is Rusty. I'm 32 years young, as they say in the streets. I'm a huge fan. Been a fan for years. You know, Jesus Freak was the first song that I really related with. I actually gave my heart to Christ because of that song. Um, yeah, it's funny. Music's been like my driving focus since I was a little kid, and ever since then I've been doing music for years. But I'm not all that good. I'm not talented like you or your band. Amazing. I've never been to any of your concerts, but I've always wanted to. It just seems like it just didn't connect ever. You know, you had that Winter Jam. I hear that's a really, really awesome show, and I'd love to go, but I just haven't gotten to go because finances are a little tight. I've had MS for 11 years, and so all my money goes to medication and whatever. The only money I get is from the government. I only make like $1,000, if that, which is not enough money to really survive on. You know, they say you can survive, but only if you have siblings or a sugar mama or whatever. It's really tough. Um, my testimony is really interesting. I'd love to tell it to you. Um, so in about 2006, I'm going to say that. Maybe 2007. I'm not sure that those few years just like really blurred together. But 2006, I was working 120 hours a week. Plus, I was a full time student, like 27 credit hours. Plus, I had a full time girlfriend, which, a girlfriend's only as useful as she is kind. My girlfriend was not kind. She was very manipulative, very bad. She just was a bad fit. Like she's a good girl, but wasn't meant for me. Like your song, you and your wife. I think that's adorable. I love how you talk about her. Like she's the air that you breathe. Basically, that's awesome. Um, it's so. Anyways, I worked way too many hours. I was only sleeping like 15 minutes a week, if that. Probably maybe 20 minutes a week. I'm not sure, but somewhere in there, like I was in the minutes instead of the hours that you're supposed to have. So I drove myself into developing MS, which multiple sclerosis. If you don't know about that, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible disease, and they don't have a cure. They don't have any hint of a cure yet, and I've had it for 11 years, and there's people that've had it for 40 or 50 or 60 years, and although it's not, although it doesn't take your life, it kind of does because your whole life is wrapped up onto getting treatments. And I go to doctor's visits about like 5 times a month, and that's just not the coolest. But I'm right now I'm working with a naturopathy, but that's not what I'm talking about. So let me focus. Sorry, I have ADHD as well. So my one of those. I have a severe form of ADHD. I have ADHD. I have like four what is that called? Autoimmune diseases. I have MS, ADHD, arthritis. Uh, I guess three. I have three, and then I have sleep apnea, and I have a lot of diseases. Anyways, so in 2006 or 2007, whatever year, I was in cosmetology school. I was going to be a cosmetologist because I finally gave up on my dreams of being a rock star, which I'm not. I've always loved music, but I just don't have the talent. I put hours and hours and hours in school. I mean, from fifth grade on, I was always watching what you were doing. I was like, that guy is really hip. That was like 2005, or no, 1995. Excuse me. That was my fifth grade year, and anyways, I'm rambling, but I can put together concise timeline. So hold on. So let me go back. So 2006, 2007, October. So it's probably 2007. I'm gonna guess. I uh, I went to a Warriors for Christ. It's a group gathering at the Wall Wall Community College that I used to go to. That's the school I went to, and in 2007, there was a really cool group of people. We were worship. They put on a big worship and a barbecue and such. I'm not really big on meat anymore because I'm an Adventist, a Seventh Day Adventist. But that doesn't matter. It's just a title. I love Jesus. I'm a huge Jesus freak. But it it was really at that time I didn't care. I was eating meat. I was before that I was a missionary Baptist, and missionary Baptists, they eat meat on top of meat on top of meat on top of meat on top of, and then for dessert they have meat. They have meat all the time, and that's why a lot of their pastors have a lot of coronary heart disease and such. But that's okay, neither here nor there. Because it's more profitable to have spiritual meat than whatever. You know what I mean? You're getting at what I'm talking about. However, so at that barbecue, I had a hot dog, I had a hamburger. I was talking to all these girls because my girlfriend had just broke up with me. This girl that I'd been dating for a year and a half. She was the girl that I was talking about. That girlfriend that I had. She was the whole reason I was going to school was to get the wife, the kids, the picket fence, all that stuff. But God had a different plan, obviously, and it wasn't my plan, but it was His plan. And His ways are higher than mine. So I know that He's got something for me to do. I don't know what it is, but I think that's what it is. Something. I'm getting old. You can see my wrinkles right here. I've lived a pretty hard life the last 11 years, being sick every day. But anyways, let me go back to the story. I'm sorry, my stories are so they're out of there. Anyways, so I was at the barbecue. We ate the barbecue food. It was great. It was fun. I was talking to all these really pretty girls. I was talking to them about coloring their hair and giving them pedicures and manicures and blah blah blah, whatever. Just being a handsome young dude. So I at that time I was working, for 120 hours a week, plus going to school full time. I was working myself to death basically, and I didn't realize that day would change the rest of my history. So I looked at my watch and I was like, oh crud, I have to be at work, even though I didn't have to be at work until another hour past that. It was 6 o'clock and I didn't have to be until 7. But I was like, I need to go to work. So I went to go out to my car and I was like, oh, I didn't say goodbye to the beautiful ladies. So I was like, okay, this is happening. So I turned around, went back into the school and I was like, so where's the ladies at? And they're like, oh, they're in the bathroom. And me being a stupid guy who not know anything about women, I was like, oh, they'll be out as soon as I go to the bathroom. So I went into the bathroom, the men's restroom, did my business. Not even 5 minutes, 2 minutes probably tops. I just get in and get it done, So I was like there and I was like, I went outside and I was like, so where's the ladies at? And they're like, they're still in the bathroom. I was like, oh, okay. So then I went to go get a drink of water. And I don't remember anything after that. But what I heard from everybody that was there who saw me, I hit the cement wall. Boom, boom, boom. Just my head was pounding against the wall. Boom, 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 boom. And I slid all the way down to the ground. I convulsed. I had a seizure, a huge seizure, grand mal seizure. And it turned into a big episode. The what was I saying? Oh, sorry. Yeah, ADHD. Anyways, so I blacked out. My body seriously said, enough. I've had enough. You're working 120 hours a week. Just can't do this anymore. Plus the school, 27 hours school credit hours. That's supposed to be 27 hours of studying, which you can't do in a day. So that's stupid. But they because cosmetology is a little different, they allowed 27 credit hours, which is dumb. I don't think they should allow that much schooling ever. But anyways, I digress. Anyways, so when I was I blacked out and I woke up, but it was in my dream or in a dream state. I don't know what it was. But I woke up and I was like, wow. I was like, where am I? And then I look off into the distance and I see a shiny bright light, and I didn't know who it was or what it was, but it felt peaceful. I felt like the peace. And I was like, oh, that's so wonderful. So I was like looking and I was squinting. I was like looking down the way. At the time, I just gotten glasses, but I was covering my eyes up like this, trying to see who it was. And I was like, I was like, I know who that is. That's that Jesus Christ fellow that everybody in my life has been talking about. That Jesus fellow. He's a good dude. So I ran to him. I just ran. And in slow motion, I was like, hi. Who over there? How are you? Anyways, so I was like, I was running to him. And then he had his arms open wide, like this. He just said, come, come bring it in. Bring it into Papa, So I jumped into his arms and I wrapped my legs around him kind of like a spider monkey. I just totally had my arms around him. I hugged him so tight. And I just remember thinking, I was like, Jesus, I'm so tired of this place. Can you just take me home? Can we just call it a wrap? And he said, you, he's like, I can't take you home right now. He said, I have something for you to do specifically here on Earth. He didn't tell me what it was, which, I imagine that's the fun part about life, is learning what you're supposed to do and your passions and your real life and being, your heart beating and all that stuff. So he says, I can't take you home. I can't do it. He said, but he's like, you're here, and this is where you're at. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, I that put peace in my heart because I had never had a purpose for my whole life. I'd always been looking for that purpose and that drive and whatever it was. And so I was like, so what am I supposed to do? I was trying to think about it, but at the same time, I was in my dream state. So he said, as he was leaving, he said, oh yeah, by the way, from now on, you're going to go by Rusty. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I'm like, because I don't even know where that name comes from, other than the fact that I have red facial hair, which is kind of weird. You can't see it in the light that I'm in right now because it's really bad lighting, but yeah, so I woke up in the ambulance, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Cole, is it Tommy? Tommy Cole?" And I said, "That's not my name, bro." And they said, "Well, what? Their ID says that." I'm like, "Oh, well, God told me to go by Rusty." So I probably sounded insane. To them, they didn't understand, but I knew in my heart that that's what God wanted me to go by. So from that point on, I've been going by Rusty for the last 11 years, and the name Rusty actually brings me a lot of peace. Like I go into crowds and I just say, "Hey, I'm Rusty," and everybody says, "Rusty, huh? That's a weird name. Like, where does that name come from?" I said, "It comes from God," and they get even more freaked out. People are like, "What does that even mean?" I'm a person sent from God, and they say, "Whoa," whatever they say. They probably say you're a nutball, whatever, because the earthly eyes don't see what the spiritual eyes see. Anyways, so I've been living the last 11 years, like I said, barely living, as they say. I've had there's a lot of pain with MS, and so I had started smoking marijuana, but yeah, I'm actually working with naturopathy, who's show me other things that I can use that will kill the pain and give me good nutrition so I can actually maybe get rid of MS. There's no cure, but he says the naturopath. He said, well, he's like, yeah, he's like, get your blood work, blah blah blah, and we can figure it out. I'm like, that's interesting because nobody's been able to figure it out yet, But I know God has a way and He's got a will. Anyhow, so I I've been, like I said, I've been following your career for years and years and years. So, I mean, I was born in '85. You were already, I think you were already doing stuff in '85, right? Or was it '87? Uh, but yeah, I mean, that's when, Jesus Freak and all that.